Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Transformers Kingdom Dinobot review. Today we are taking a look at the most honorable Predacon turned Maximal, potentially. They're actually really hyping up the fact that he's a Predacon. Although if you look at one of his cards that describes him, it actually says that he leads the United Factions. And you can see he's got Maximals and Predacons there. So it would be kind of interesting to see like an alternate take on the Beast Wars where Dinobot was the leader of the United groups. That'd be kind of cool. Now, one of the things I do have to say is I'm just kind of glad that they totally ditched any potential feathers. And it looks like a real, kind of actually a pleasant blend between his CG model and probably what a real Velociraptor looked like. Now you're probably noticing, yes, the tail is at a weird angle, and that is how it's supposed to be. But when we look at the Beast Wars Dinobot mold, this is nothing, like I said, nothing new for this guy. Now, one thing that we will take note of is the arms, because a lot of the images show him doing this a lot of the time, which if you were to put him in a running pose, especially with the tail at an angle, that would look good. But the rest of the time, it just kind of looks funky. Whereas this looks slightly a bit more realistic. And also when you put his hands in poses like this, you can kind of get humorous, like, what? That's not my fault. Are you serious? Now, one thing that we do have to mention is he does have a really kind of awesome, you can see the tongue is painted red. So they're going to some pretty good detail. This is something that just kind of peeks out right here, because if you know anything about how his robot torso looks, this is actually one part of that. For the most part, it's hidden. Now, one last thing that I want to bring out about him individually is his raptor claws, because even on the original guy, the primary claw raised up, because I guess raptors apparently did this. It has become synonymous with raptors. As he is a dinosaur, let's compare him with the only other legit dinosaur from Kingdom, because fossilizers do not count. His scale with Megatron is actually what it was in the show, even though Velociraptors would be a lot smaller than a T-Rex. But then again, a rat would not be this big in comparison to a Velociraptor either, so there you have that. But how does he actually look with the other Maximals? Because this looks good. And we'll have to redo the shot whenever AirRaiser shows up, which as of the time of this video, she's on her way, so hopefully that'll be up before too long. So anyway, guys, I'm really excited to move him on into robot mode. So here is our boy rocking his robot mode. And you know what? It's far from perfect. I think mainly just because of, first of all, like the arms. In the show, they were shown to be a lot more muscular. And don't get me wrong, because these being his beast mode legs, they are sculpted very muscular-like. I think the thing that kind of visually makes him look smaller is that in the show, his torso was a lot more slimmer. And that's what helped his arms look a little bit more jacked. But, I mean, again, the definition is there, and, you know, the fact that his robot mode, or his torso is compressed and folded up and as neat as it is, that's fine and acceptable. And the one thing is on his, like, his legs and his feet and probably these little claw tips here, he should have silver paint. So, I mean, that may be a small alteration that can be fixed. The one thing that it's in the molding, but it's obviously not painted, was in the show on the fleshy bits, he did have, like, you know, lighter stripes that went through it, which the reason he may not have the stripes is because, again, of them going for a more real beast mode. So, okay, that's fine. But overall, as far as just the general shape and everything else, it's looking good. The one thing that I think blows me away is how awesome the robot mode is, because I haven't seen one this good since the masterpiece. The head was just like, I mean, this awesome. So I'm digging that so much. And I kind of find myself wishing that he had some of the accessories that the masterpiece had, like, you know, the clip-on laser eye blast, because that's like a big thing of his. But one thing that is interesting that was also on the masterpiece was his sword. Even though the spinning metal bits were reflective, they did have a purplish tint with that. And I'm kind of wondering, why are all the sword pieces nowadays for him purple? Like, I mean, Optimus has his blades, and they're silver like they should. So why make it different this once? I don't get that. And so looking at a comparison of his original mold, he does have one up on the old guy, because the old guy could not hold the sword all normal. He had to hold it really strange. So he's got one up on this guy. Now the only sad thing is in the old one, you actually had a deal that would allow his actual thing to spin, whereas this is just, as you can see, it just collapses up. There is no spinning gimmick. So take your victories where you get them, and also acknowledge the fact that sometimes the old guys still have things that outdo the new guys. So, I mean, it's a toss-up. They both have their strengths, obviously. And so here we can see Dinobot squaring off against his former leader. And you know what? Stacked against Megatron, he looks pretty cool. Now, if you did want to technically use him as just a straight-up Predacon, he would look good with Megatron that way as well. Now, Dinobot himself actually doesn't come with a golden disc, but if you have one on hand, his figure is capable of holding it to where he can actually mirror that one episode specifically. So here he is chilling with the Maximal homies, and you know what? Overall, he looks really good with these guys. Now, while he is terribly out of scale with Rat Trap, as is obvious, he actually does really well in comparison to Rhinox and Optimus. He looks great, Beast Mode's awesome, and anyway guys, I'm just excited for more of the Beast Wars characters to show up. So until next time guys, we will see you in another review.
Last battle! If it's battle you want, let it begin!